first and foremost, my big thanks to President Macron and to you, Minister, and the others in the French government for really taking a leadership role in bringing us here, in continuing to push for this, and also, importantly, giving equal space and voice to the Global South. I very much appreciate the words from our excellencies. The Marshall Plan for climate and nature, I would say, is very much overdue. I grew up in Africa, and when I grew up there, electricity was intermittent, to say it politely. My daughter now is 4 years old. When she is my age, the one thing I can be confident of, I am sure that she will live in a world where energy is cleaner, greener, very likely cheaper, and very likely more equitably available to all. That trajectory is happening right now. All of you here, this conference itself is proof that that train is moving. Now, it is not moving fast enough. It's not scaling fast enough, but it is going. It is heading in that direction. The unfortunate thing is we cannot say the same for the nature transition. The nature transition is still stuck. And it's incredibly important because today about 12.5 gigatons of carbon or carbon dioxide equivalents comes out from our destruction or misuse or mismanagement of nature into the atmosphere. So we will never be able to attain the Paris Climate Agreement if we do not have a Marshall Plan for both climate and nature. About 14% of the planet has the world's most dense carbon stores, irrecoverable living carbon stores. Congo Basin, Colombia, parts of South Africa. These are countries that are rich in carbon. They also contain about 90% of the world's biodiversity, and they need to be the focus of our attention in this coming decade. In March in Gabon, we had the pleasure of joining President Macron, the Walton Foundation, in announcing a seed fund of $100 million just to get started, to jumpstart this process. It's inspired by JETP. It's inspired by the amassing of financial resources, public, private, philanthropic, towards an energy transition that we're now seeing played out in South Africa and other countries. The seed fund is there for nations like some of those here to help them prepare and set the stage for really driving investment, public, private, philanthropic, bonds, debt for nature, Green Climate Fund financing, GEF and World Bank financing for an equivalent nature financing. There are three things that must happen for this to be successful. First, you need heads of state engagement and endorsement. You need alignment of policies across multiple ministries. Second, you need indigenous voices and local communities on stage participating, planning, directing, because most of this carbon actually sits within the stewardship of indigenous communities and local people. And third, you need good science, good monitoring in order to make this work. My last point is we need the private sector at the table. To scale, we need the private sector. Government to government is extraordinarily important. Charities and nonprofits like ours and civil society can play a role. But at the end of the day, to move capital fast, to change the trajectory of growth, you need the private sector at the table. And some of that is already happening, sometimes despite our best efforts. It's already happening. In South Africa, I recently visited a project that is funded by Kering, the French fashion house, as well as Inditex, on regenerative agriculture in the Drakensberg at scale, putting communities to work in restoration. In Colombia, a groundbreaking project in Cispata, where the first blue carbon was really brought to market at scale. This is a mangrove restoration and conservation project involving local communities, was initially funded by Apple. So you can see that the Canadian Pension Fund, you talked about pension funds, the Canadian Pension Fund Investment Board is currently investing in the Peruvian Amazon with indigenous communities directly to protect nature. So to me, these are the three things we need. We need seed funding to get countries prepared. We need large-scale funding that involves philanthropy, private, public sector, all instruments possible for a Marshall Plan for nature and climate. And we need the private sector engaged. Thank you.